The Indianapolis Colts continue to get great news in this offseason, specifically on the offensive front, and maybe in an area that we've not devoted enough attention to. All that and more on this video. What's going on? I'm Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And if you're new to the channel, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe if you've watched a few videos of ours. But be sure you want to be a part of this community as we, if you're watching the Colts come up on the rise as they're going to this season, as they have been last season, and you're excited to watch it, be a part of the community. We're excited to have you. But today we're going to talk about an area that I don't think has got enough attention. And a little bit of preface first. 3 years ago now, the Colts traded for Carson Wentz, and actually for a good portion of the season had a decent passing game. But one thing that I don't think is highlighted enough is that in that time when the Colts had a decent passing game, they also had the most dominant rushing force in the NFL, and that is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor won the rushing title in 2021, had nothing but good luck. Then in 2022, Matt Ryan comes in. Jonathan Taylor doesn't have quite the year because they don't have a passing game. Offensive line is battered up, and Jonathan Taylor struggles with an ankle injury. 2023 rolls around, and once again, Jonathan Taylor doesn't have quite the season that we would expect. Zach Moss has a good year, and then when Jonathan Taylor does come back from injury and signs a new contract, things look a lot better for the Colts and for Jonathan Taylor. But I think this year that Jonathan Taylor is poised to have one of, if not the best year yet. Jonathan Taylor is entering into age 26 season, which for a lot of running backs is a make or break year. This is when Derrick Henry had his 99-yard run. This is where guys like Adrian Peterson, guys really come into form as being an elite rusher. And we know Jonathan Taylor's an elite rusher. He's ranked as an elite rusher. But I think there's reason to believe that Jonathan Taylor will rush for even more and have a more dominant attack than he did in the previous seasons. And that is because the Colts have done nothing but bolster the units around him. Think back to 2021. 2021, Jonathan Taylor has an incredible year because of having a decent passing attack with Carson Wentz. As flawed as that man was, had a decent passing attack and therefore drew more attention towards the pass than the run. You were seeing more nickel sets. You were seeing more people on the field that weren't going to be poised to take down Jonathan Taylor. And even two sprained ankle Wentz held together enough that made defenses have to focus on more than just the run. Jonathan Taylor looked incredible. Fast forward to 2023 or 2022, 2023, Matt Ryan, and then Gardner Minshew. And they looked decent with Gardner Minshew. He obviously had that really, really good game against the Texans, but still was battling injury and still wasn't quite the dominant force in the passing game that I think that we all wanted, and still dealing with a battered offensive line. Now we look ahead to this year. And this year, Jonathan Taylor has a team around him with a freshly extended Michael Pittman Jr., he has Josh Downs coming off of an incredible rookie season. And now he has Adonai Mitchell on the end, who's going to draw a lot of attention for the defense. Not only that, Jelani Woods is back. Moale Cox is back. Kylan Grenson. That's a really decent, it's at best mediocre tight end field. And then you look ahead to the offensive line. The offensive line to years past has not looked better than it does right now, including adding a significant amount of depth in the draft with Matt Gonzalez and with Tanner Bortolini. So you look to these guys. Ryan Kelly looks healthy. Braden Smith looks healthy. Ryan Fries looks healthy. Or not Ryan Fries, but Fries looks healthy. Quentin Nelson looks healthy. This is a 1 through 5 offensive line that looks really, really good. Then you add in the depth of the offensive line. Tanner Bortolini can play both guard and center and tackle if needed. Gonzalez can play guard and tackle. So you've got depth in that field. Again, looking back to the 2021 season, of which Jonathan Taylor solidified himself and could have won the MVP that very season. I think when you look ahead to this coming season, and I don't think I'm alone in thinking this, in thinking that the Colts are going to have a really good rushing attack, even with guys like Evan Hull and Trey Sermon and Goodson in the backfield. PFF ranked the top 32, obviously 1 through 32, of the best running back fields, and this includes everyone in the running back field. So like the Bears have Swift in there, the Chiefs have Pacheco, they have Zach Cunningham, and then you look ahead to the Rams. They got Blake Corum. They've got the Jaguars have Travis Etienne, who is as we've seen a fairly decent run of the mill back. The Commanders, the Packers, who just got Josh Jacobs, they still have A.J. Dillon. And then you've got the Steelers, Najee Harris, they still have Warren. But you look ahead, this is where I was surprised. I was actually thinking they were going to be lower than this. But number 9, the Miami Dolphins, who have David Achane and Raheem Mostert. But number 8 in the NFL is the Indianapolis Colts. And again, number 8 might not seem great. Being top 10 isn't exactly anything to like boast about. But number 8, when you've only got Jonathan Taylor as an elite rusher and then the other 3 guys being like okay enough to be able to get you a yard or two and maybe a little bit more, but nothing much more. And then number 7, you've got the Baltimore Ravens. They just added Derrick Henry. You've got the Eagles, who just added Saquon Barkley, the Jets, the Falcons, the Lions, and the 49ers. Obviously, 49ers are going to get it because of Christian McCaffrey. But being number 8, again, when you've only got Jonathan Taylor to talk about, I think this bodes really well for the Colts. And not only that, but again, being able to have so many players, and then Anthony Richardson coming off. And don't get me wrong, Anthony Richardson's most recent shoulder injury scares me more than anyone else, I promise. Even if it is just like routine soreness, I'm still a little terrified of what that could mean. But all this to say that I don't think anyone is poised for a bigger breakout, possibly MVP type run than Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has in his career averaged more than 5.0 yards per carry. I'm actually pulling up that stat now. But averaged more than that, and he's averaged a significant amount of touchdowns. Again, I'm pulling that up now as we speak. But he's got 169 carries for 741 yards. That's just last year. He had 7 touchdowns. And again, that was in half a season, basically, of play starting on 11-2 with New England. I think that this bodes really well. And actually on his career, he has 4,582 yards in 4 seasons. He's got 925 carries for 40 touchdowns with 123 receptions. 955 yards. So he has 1,000 yards in just receptions and 4 receiving touchdowns, as well as 40 touchdowns. That is an incredible stat line for someone who's played 4 years in the 40 years in the NFL, 4 years in the NFL. And I think that we've only seen just the beginning of what Jonathan Taylor's been able to do. You look at this guy, and when he runs up, he reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell, minus a lot of the attitude that Le'Veon Bell had. But you look at him when he runs up into a line, and when he looks like he gets stuffed, you see this guy be able to have elite ball carrier vision and elusiveness to be able to avoid tackles and avoid tackle for losses, but get ahead to the nearest yard. And I think that that's something that as a Colts fan, we should be really excited about. But not only that, but Jonathan Taylor still has elite speed. We saw it already in OTAs and training camp. We've seen his elite agility and footwork, again, still carrying on into his age 26 season. And he won't even hit 26 until the very end to week 17 is when he actually will hit 26. So he's still in his age 25 season, still very new for a running back. And I think that bodes really well for the Colts. And there's a lot to be excited about. Again, even looking back to last year when they didn't have a good passing attack, they had a Zach Moss who was decent. But looking back to his regular season stats last year, 169 carries for 741 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 4.1 yards per carry. That's still, if you can end a season with 4.4 yards per carry, that's a good season. That's a top 15 running back if you can end with a 4.4 or higher of yards per carry. But again, I think what Steichen's going to be able to do with this offense is going to be really, really encouraging and really exciting to watch, because a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who has not only tackle shedding abilities, but has ball carrier vision and elusiveness, you put that in a Shane Steichen style offense with Anthony Richardson. They only played 2 snaps together last year. So you're talking about the potential for really being a dominant force, a dominant 1-2 punch. I think like it's going to be comparable to Lamar and Derrick Henry this year, or Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor are going to solidify themselves as a potential 1-2 punch of generations. I think that people are going to talk about this, and I'm really, really excited to see where they're going to go with this, what they're going to be able to drop, and I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a career year even further this season with the Indianapolis Colts.